All right, y'all. It is week 5 of the autoimmune series, but week 14 of the herb talk, I believe. So that is fantastic. We have made it through more than 3 months of herb talk already, and it's already getting super intense. Um, everything's starting to come together with this autoimmune series. And mind you, we still have many, many weeks to go. But what this process is really supposed to do is take you through a series of things that um, someone with autoimmune disease will need to do in order to, or the process that they'll need to go through in order to go into remission, right? And we have it broken down into a 39-week process, 9 months, um, where honestly, the app, if you follow the autoimmune series app or the autoimmune app, the autoimmune wellness app, it will take you through this. Now, one of the apps I put together is just kind of an all around information, just throws everything at you, and you can do with it what you will. Kind of, gives you guidelines on health and supplements and all those sort of things based on your condition. The other app that I'm trying to get approved through the store right now, it actually takes you through step by step. It's like having a physician right there with you. It'll give you key components, key things every single day. It will give you actual doctor's advice. So it has actual doctor's advice in it as well. So that secondary app that I'm creating now will actually have a naturopathic doctor, their quotes and their different things on autoimmune disease that will help you each day of the 9 months. Uh, let's see. Oh, I think he's in now. Mom, she just texted me. But yeah, so the first app is just throwing all the information at you. Um, the second app that I'm creating is actually walking you through this 9 month process. My sound went out. My sound went out. Is it back up?
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, that's weird. I'm hoping my internet's doing all right. It was a little laggy.
It sounds good to me, Matt.
Okay, all right, sweet. Hopefully it'll come out good. We'll see. Got my coffee today. Really good. I got something yesterday, which was really exciting. I've been wanting to try it for like a year now. It's something that I'm going to add to the coffee shop, but it's like an herbal cocktail. It's like um, it's got a whole bunch of different herbal extracts and everything in a liquid format, but you can use it and make like mocktails basically, but with herbs in it. So it's like super healthy for you. It's not alcoholic or anything, but you can make very similar drinks that you would make to like an alcoholic beverage, but with this herb cocktail. And so it's like really, really good for your health. But I added it to my coffee this morning. It's really good. But anyways, moving on. Yeah, so the second app is it's actually like having a physician with you walking through your autoimmune disease journey. And it goes in phases, right? It starts with your gut and then goes to different herbs that you should start taking after you get your gut right. It goes through the different diet phases, elimination diet and all that kind of stuff. And it does it in in a 9 month cycle. Now you can expand that time if you want to, and it will actually do it for you, right? So once every day you wake up and you let it know how you feel, right? Super important. Are my eyes itching? You know, is it, is my throat dry? All these sort of things play a role in accruing data for your progression, right? Um, and so, because you want to feel normal when you wake up, you want to feel like you're not hindered, and you want to wake up with ease. Now, I know a lot of us don't wake up with ease, so it's not quite normal to wake up with ease for anybody, but it should be, right? You should be able to wake up with ease. Now, obviously, schedules and time and late nights and stuff like that hinder that sometimes. But what this app does is basically it uses an AI to basically track your progress and stuff, and it'll extend a period of that phase out or decrease that phase, depending on where your progression is. So it's really, really cool. But it does have a naturopathic doctor's information on every single day. You'll have new information from a naturopathic doctor, or I think every single phase. I can't remember. I gotta go back and look at it. But and then you'll get real time Bible verses every day, real time breath work, all of those sort of things. Really cool. Last week I said that we were going to go through breath work a little bit, but that's actually this week, and we got through I got through like half of it, and I was like, "Where's the breath work?" And I was like, "Oh, I was reading week 5, not week 4." So I messed up there, but yeah, so we'll actually get into some breath work to get back into parasympathetic nervous system today. A couple of methods, but we're going to dive a little deeper into the immune system today. Our first herb talk was it was about the two different sides of the immune system: the innate and the adaptive immune system, the reactive versus the smart targeted version, right? This would get a little bit deeper dive into it, right? So, to heal the immune system, it is necessary to understand that it is behaving at a deeper level, right? It's not just like surface. Yeah, it's the immune system, man. It's pretty complex. It's a very complex system, and autoimmune inflammation isn't random. It follows patterns based on different parts of the immune system that are activated and regulated, right? So, one way to understand this is through the T helper cell dominance, specifically T1 or Th1, Th2, and Th17 pathways. So Th1 dominance is typically associated with intracellular threats such as viruses and certain bacteria. This pathway activates macrophages and cytotoxic T cells. So usually to destroy like infected cells, right? When Th1 activity is excessive, it can lead to tissue damage, right? And we most of us know what that feels like, on um, a not so permanent scale, with joint pain and different things like that. But when Th1 activity is excessive, so it can lead to tissue damage, but it's also associated with conditions like Hashimoto's, thyroiditis, and type 1 diabetes. Um, so uh, because those are very specific Th1 dominance, or sorry, Th1. Sorry, I lost my words there. But basically, it is where where it's attacking the tissues, basically. I've got like 50 side notes going on in my head where I want to go off on rants, but I really need to stay on track. Sorry. Th2 dominance is more associated with extracellular threats, right? So, including parasites, allergens. This pathway stimulates B cells to produce antibodies. So, when Th2 is overactive, it is often linked to allergic responses, asthma conditions involving excessive antibody production, right? So, and then Th17 is more recently understood. It's a pathway, and it's strongly associated with chronic inflammation and autoimmunity, right? Th17 cells produce inflammatory cytokines, particularly interleukin 17, which recruits immune cells to sites of inflammation. So this is where a lot of us have, different people have felt a lot. But excessive Th17 activity is commonly seen in conditions such as psoriasis, multiple sclerosis, and inflammatory bowel disease, right? So, and that's the ones that you really feel. These pathways do not operate in isolation. The immune system is constantly balancing between them. When one pathway becomes dominant or dysregulated, it can suppress or distort the others. So it leads to imbalance and chronic inflammation. Regulatory T cells, or Tregs, like we learned in the first one, play a critical role in maintaining this balance, right? They act as the control system of the immune response. Their function is to suppress excessive immune activity and maintain tolerance to self. So Tregs help prevent the immune system from attacking the body's own tissues. They regulate, right? When Tregs function is reduced or impaired, the immune system loses one of its main mechanisms to self-regulate. This allows inflammation pathways like Th1 and Th17 to become overactive, increasing the risk of autoimmunity. Now we're going to get into next week, we start epigenetics, and one of the epigenetic factors of autoimmunity is this braking system that we're talking about, like the Tregs braking system. So just remember that when we get into epigenetics. Next week, we'll get really nerdy. But I don't know if y'all can hear that chicken behind me, but he is so loud. It's ridiculous. Right outside the door. It's like every time I come in here, he wants to be right outside the door. Anyways, so cytokines are signaling molecules, right? So it's very similar to like histamine. Histamine is a signaling molecule. But cytokines are signaling molecules that immune cells use to communicate, right? They determine how strong an immune response will be and what type of response is activated, right? So really important for your immune system and regulating that. A cytokine storm refers to an excessive and uncontrolled release of these signaling molecules. This leads to widespread inflammation and can cause significant tissue damage, right? While cytokine storms are often discussed in acute infections, lower level but persistent cytokine elevation is common in immune conditions. So you have all these biological markers that are common amongst all autoimmune disease, right? And you start to see a pattern with autoimmune patients when you start to recognize all of these underlying issues, and you start to help regulate those things in particular, you normally see remission, right? But it takes some things to get there. It doesn't happen overnight. Not for everybody. Some people get really great results really fast, but they go through extreme measures to do so, and I don't recommend that. Right? Extreme measures can have extreme results, but they can also have extreme detriment as well. So you have to be careful. You have to love your body. But I have seen, I have seen somebody with lupus do a water fast, just straight up water fast, and they had lupus for like, oh gosh, like close to 20 years of their life. They had lupus and dealt with it and took prescriptions and everything, and then they did a water fast for 18 days and they got rid of their lupus, completely gone. No trace of any issue at all. No medication, no nothing after that. So it can be done, but I don't recommend that extreme type of measure for everybody. I do recommend it for some people, not everybody. Fasting is difficult enough for people, just to go one day without eating versus, let alone 18 days just on water, right? So, but so like I said, elevated levels of these are often found in autoimmune disease. Understanding these signal pathways highlights important principle that the goal is not to shut down the immune system, but to regulate it, right? These immune responses are extremely important to fight anything. You can't just shut them down, but immune suppression reduces immune activity broadly, which can leave the body more vulnerable to infections, and does not address the underlying imbalance. Immune modulation, on the other hand, aims to restore the balance between different immune pathways. So we see this pretty commonly with people who are organ donors, or not organ donors, but receive organs from other people. They have to take an immune suppressing prescription, right, for the rest of their life, pretty much, because they don't want the body to fight that organ because it's foreign, right? Now, what that does is it leaves them susceptible to infections, right? So it's a constant balance and struggle to regulate that. I think they can do things differently with organ donors or people that receive organs. I think they can use natural means, but I'm not going to say that is a definite thing because it's never been studied, right? Everything that I talk about, everything that I do and talk about, I've either seen done and I know works, or I've seen studies and have seen the results thereof, right? So when I say that autoimmune disease should not be dealt with by doctors, I mean it. Like, it should not be dealt with by doctors at all. When I say cancer should not be dealt with by doctors, I don't think doctors have a place in those sort of things, because it's not a disease that should be dealt with symptoms. It should be dealt with by cause, right? And doctors don't know what the cause of cancer is. And I know they don't know what the cause of cancer is, otherwise they would treat the cause. But immune suppression, suppressing your immune system like that is bad, right? You want to regulate it. And there's a ton of things out there that regulate it, and we'll get to some of those here in a second. But when it's properly regulated, it can defend itself against threats while maintaining tolerance to the body's own tissues, right? This balance is the foundation of long-term immune health. And the key objective is addressing, and it's the key objective in addressing these autoimmune conditions. So I think I got everybody in here thus far. Yeah. All right. I'm logging everybody in for the raffle. Coffee's so good right now. All right. So, herbs of the week, y'all. Let's get to the herbs of the week. This is one of my favorites. I actually did a whole herb talk on this one, but we're going to talk specifically about one thing that this one does, according to the subject matter today, right? So reishi mushroom, and we actually gave reishi a mushroom. I think that was our first herb that we gave away. Um, really awesome herb to use. The cool thing about reishi mushroom is it grows like just about everywhere, right? Except for the desert. But anywhere where there's moisture, anywhere where there's fallen trees, it will grow, right? So it normally grows on, it really likes stumps, to grow on stumps, or wood that's half buried in the ground. There are some like relatives of reishi, like the red belted polypores and stuff, and they're shelf mushrooms that grow on the sides of trees. But this mushroom is one of my favorite mushrooms. I love going and harvesting it in the wild, and foraging it. But and I've still got a bunch. I mean, I don't even know how much I've got from just harvesting in the wild. But the cool thing is, you go find one, a decent sized one, it'll last you a year. You know, it's just so prolific. But it's incredible on what it's able to do, not just with autoimmune disease, but with cancer. One of the key actions in tumors it has is it will cut off all the microcirculation, all the weak blood vessels going to tumors, completely starve it out. Super awesome. So if you have a tumor or anything, you can start taking therapeutic doses of reishi mushroom, and it'll stop it from growing like that. A couple of things will stop it from growing. L-lysine, right? L-lysine stops, it literally stops the metabolism. Or I say metabolism, there's more to that, but it stops it from spreading, right? It'll stop anything from spreading, really, because it tightens your tissues, right? So cancer can't send out collagen dissolving enzymes to move through the body. It'll stop that collagen dissolving enzyme in its tracks. L-lysine will. And then reishi mushroom will starve a tumor. So those two things combined will instantly stop the growth of a tumor. But then you have other things to help your immune system break that tumor up and get rid of it, right? So strategy, all strategy. Because if you don't ever do anything more than that, then it just stops growing. But then you got to get rid of it. So a lot of people do that, right? They'll get to the point where it stops growing, and they'll do natural things on their own. You know, be like, well, it stopped. You know, it stopped growing. It stopped, and I keep going to get these tests, and they keep seeing it, but it hasn't grown. Like, that's really great. Now do this, and it'll go away, right? So you have to do a little bit more sometimes, so especially with more intense cases. But the scientific name for reishi mushroom is Ganoderma lucidum. This is one of the most well-studied herbs in the world. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of studies on this herb. It is ridiculous. It's amazing for you. But it's considered a true immune modulator, right? It does not simply stimulate or suppress the immune system, but it helps to regulate how it responds. One of its key effects on regulatory T cells, or Tregs, the reishi has been shown to support Treg activity, right? So, which is essential for maintaining immune tolerance and preventing the immune system from attacking the body's own tissues. By strengthening the regulatory function, it helps bring balance to overactive immune responses. So reishi mushroom also influences cytokine signaling. So it can help reduce excessive inflammatory cytokines. So including those involved in chronic inflammatory states. This makes it useful in calming what is often described as cytokine storm, right? So what we just went through. Or commonly in autoimmune conditions, a persistent elevated inflammatory signaling, right? So in addition, reishi contains beta-glucans. Beta-glucans are phenomenal, and polysaccharides and triterpenes, right? That support overall immune balance and reduce oxidative stress, and improve resilience to both physical and environmental stressors. It is often used as a long-term foundational herb, right? Long-term foundational herb and stabilizing effects. Everybody should probably be on some sort of medicinal mushroom, right? They're so good for you. Everyone, right? It's like it's your immune system shield, right? So if you pick one of them, one of the main three, right? The main three are reishi mushroom, chaga mushroom, and cordyceps. And you have lion's mane is a big one out there for neurological health and stuff. But if you're talking the main three for immune system, it's those. I like all of them. I like all three. My favorite one, although you would think it's reishi, it's not. It's actually chaga mushroom. Um, Chaga mushroom has high concentrations of something called betulinic acid, and betulinic acid is out of 2,500 substances known to man is the most cancer-fighting substance in the world. It's that is proven time and time again. So it's really, really awesome for cancer as well. That's why I like all three. Cordyceps has a really good action with for men for increasing testosterone and stuff, or androgenic, but really good stuff. Medicinal mushrooms are key to having a healthy immune system, right? I think it should be foundational to everybody's health, and it's free, right? Everyone in the US can go somewhere and forage a medicinal mushroom. Now, it's a tree mushroom, right? Basically all shelf tree mushrooms, they look like shelves, right? Basically all tree mushrooms are edible, except for the ones that glow in the dark, right? And even then they're still edible. It's just you have to be careful with it. But there are ones out there that glow in the dark. But red belted polypores are prolific everywhere, especially here in Alabama. Everybody can find these in the wild. They're free. You cut them up. 1 square inch a day will give you a gallon of tea that you can drink over a few days, and or a half gallon of tea or whatever you want to do. And you just boil that up and you have tea with reishi mushroom tea. Now, I always add other herbs in there because why waste the water, right? But you can get a bunch of different herbs in 1 cup, but that's that's a base for all of my teas, all of my everything is mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms. So it has those long-term foundational balancing and stabilizing effects, right? Echinacea, right? Everybody knows about echinacea because they see it in their stuff. Well, echinacea it's great, but everybody knows it, and that's a problem here, right? Because they know it to be semi useful because of where they get it from, right? So everybody gets it in cough drops or in cough syrup, or they've seen it in teas and stuff. That's great. That's fine. But that's really outdated stuff that is probably not the best quality. You're getting very little amounts that aren't really doing much, right? So when you do echinacea right, when you get really good quality, it really does work. We used to grow it in our yard. You can grow it in your yard. Spend a few bucks on a plant, and every year you can split the root and grow it in your yard, and you'll have more and more, and then you can make tinctures, you can make whatever you want out of it for immune system, right? So it has a more dynamic effect on the immune system, right? It interacts with both the innate and the adaptive immune branches, right? So both the reactive and the smart targeted portion of it. Echinacea and reishi in particular works with the smart targeted part, the adaptive part, right? The echinacea can enhance activity of immune cells such as macrophages and natural killer T cells, improving the body's ability to respond to infections. So at the same time, it can influence cytokine production and help regulate the intensity of immune response. Because of this dual action, echinacea is often used in a clinical manner rather than continuously, right? So short term can support the immune response during times of increased stress or exposure, or while cycling helps prevent overstimulation, right? So you want to cycle this. It's not something you want to do permanently like you would a medicinal mushroom. Its effects are more prevalent, right? So now it's important to note that echinacea can be beneficial, but its use in autoimmune conditions is often individualized, right? So in some cases, stimulating aspects of the immune system may not be appropriate if the immune response is already highly active, right? So something like Graves' disease is something that you might not want to use it for. Something like Hashimoto's, both dealing with the thyroid, but opposite ends of the spectrum, right? So Hashimoto's great for this, right? Hashimoto's, you can take ashwagandha, but with Graves, you can't take ashwagandha, right? So there are certain specificities, and the app for the autoimmune disease actually lets you know those specificities, right? You can select whatever condition you have, what you're dealing with, and it'll give you the list of herbs you can take. You can also see what other conditions can take those in the app. So it's really good. But if your immune response is already highly active, you don't want to take something like echinacea because it can be overstimulating. So astragalus. Astragalus is traditionally used to strengthen the body's baseline immune function, right? It is often considered a tonic herb, meaning it builds and supports overall resilience over time, right? This accumulating effect for a little while, and then take it all the time. It's really, really good for you. Astragalus has been shown to increase the activity of natural killer cells, which are part of the innate immune system, right? And play a key role in identifying and eliminating infected or abnormal cells. So huge action for cancer there. That was a cancer plug there. But it also supports macrophage activity and overall immune surveillance. In addition, enhancing the immune system, astragalus has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, right? So it helps to protect cells from oxidative stress and supports balanced immune signaling. So it's generally used in foundational or as a foundational herb to improve the immune strength and resilience, particularly in individuals with weakened or compromised immune systems, right? So, however, like echinacea, depending on the individual's immune state, right? So together, these herbs represent different aspects of immune support. Reishi focuses on regulation and calming overactive responses. Echinacea supports responsiveness and adaptability. And astragalus strengthens baseline immune function. When used appropriately, they can help restore balance rather than simply increase or decrease the immune activity, right? So you're not just trying to suppress it or trying to increase it, trying to regulate it, right? So you have to be careful with certain herbs, right? Certain herbs do too much for certain individuals. And so you just got to be careful with that. Luckily, most herbs don't produce a detrimental effect, right? You'll notice, right? You'll be like, okay, let me back off of that, because they work gently in the body. A lot of herbs do. Some herbs don't. All right. Some herbs are very, very intrusive, very intense, and they will rock and shake you, right? But and those are for very specific purposes. Some herbs, like herbs in the wild and stuff, herbs that I'm not going to mention here, um, will kill you like super quick, right? So I think it was Socrates. Uh, he was given a death sentence, but he was allowed to choose how he wanted to die. Well, he ate poison hemlock, but there's two different types of poison hemlock. One will kill you by extreme convulsions and extreme pain, right? Attacks the nervous system, attacks your organs and everything. The other will numb you, and then you'll just basically, it starts at your feet where your heaviest blood pressure is, and it will work up all the way to your organs, and then kill off your heart, and then you'll die, but no pain, right? So he knew the difference between the two, and he chose the latter to eat and die from. So it is extremely important to know what you're looking at and what you're using, because some herbs can be very, very intense, right? And a lot of times, if you're taking prescriptions, there are interactions between herbs and prescriptions. A lot of times what ends up happening with prescriptions is your prescriptions will start working too well, right? So if you are taking something and you start taking herbs that help your body function better, then the prescriptions are going to work better. So you have to monitor that, right? And reduce the amount of that you're taking in prescriptions. Obviously, work with your doctor on that. I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe, prescriptions, but I do have to say that, because if you are on prescriptions, if they start working better, that's great. You can take less of it and get the same effect. And hopefully, eventually, just completely back off of it altogether. But that's a individual decision. So, but concepts of the week. All right, we'll get into this real quick, and then we'll open up for questions. So, breath work. Breath work is extremely important. I studied qigong. Right, qigong is it's not a martial arts format. It is like a pre-martial arts format, right? It's how to build the energy within your body, how to build your lung capacity is part of it, how to build your movement and fluidity and everything is all about qigong, and it's like a subset to Tai Chi, right? So I studied with a Tai Chi master and a Wing Chun master. He actually took college in China. They take that in college, apparently. He had his degree in it. And him and I would work out together every day for like a year when I was in the Army. And he taught me Qigong, Tai Chi, Wing Chun. And so we go through it, and it's really interesting what happens. The way that you stretch and you open up your lungs and everything, what happens to your nervous system is phenomenal, right? Part of this is why, I have, minimalized, PTSD or anything like that, right? Because I've gotten out of that fight or flight mode. I say minimalized because I still have a couple of triggers, but I want to keep those. So that's for another herb talk. But so this is it's really important to especially with trauma and things that have people in that fight or flight mode, that sympathetic nervous system. You want to get out of that. Breath work is extremely important. That's a major part of qigong. So there's a few different types of breath work out there, but the specific one we're going to mention today. And I was teaching somebody this the other day before they had to preach. They were nervous, and I was like, look, this is what I do. I do box breathing, but this one in particular is a little bit different. It's a little bit heavier. So it works a little bit better. But it's a 4-7-8 breathing technique, right? So it's a simple method used to rapidly activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the body's rest and digest state, right? We've gone over that. It works by slowing the breath, increasing carbon dioxide tolerance, and signaling safety to the brain through the vagus nerve, right? So this shift reduces sympathetic activity and lowers the heart rate, and it helps calm stress response within minutes, right? It can do it very, very quickly. Now, it's a temporary deal, but it can get you into that state, right? And by practicing it more often, you learn your immune system. You educate your immune system to get into the right state and to stay in the right state, right? So through all these things, when you add them all together, you're basically teaching your nervous system to be calm. So this technique is 4-7-8, exactly how it sounds, right? So you inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. So it's 4 seconds. You hold it for 7 seconds. And then you let it out through your mouth for 8 seconds. Right? And you do that for about 4 to 8 rounds, right? You just go through that cycle. 4 seconds in through your nose, hold your breath for 7 seconds, release for 8 seconds. Now, if you just try to do this on a whim, a lot of people get, winded pretty quickly. So you got to kind of prepare yourself for it, like really breathe out and then do it, right? When you're going to do it. But you do that and you will notice an instant shift in your mindset and you'll feel it in your body, right? It'll feel like it's like realigning, right? Breath work is extremely important. So the extended exhale is particularly important. The longer exhale compared to the direct inhale stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system and helps reduce physiological stress signals. Holding your breath briefly increases carbon dioxide levels in the blood, which can improve oxygen delivery to tissues, right? And further promote relaxation. Regular practice of this technique can help lower cortisol levels as well. It improves heart rate and especially like heart rate variability. People who have, varying heart rates and reduce chronic stress signaling, right? So because chronic stress is a major driver of the immune system, dysregulation and inflammation, activating the parasympathetic state supports both nervous system balance and immune regulation. So one of the I had a side note that I was going to talk about really quick before we opened up. But it can be, so it's really important. It can be used really well for sleep, right? Or during periods of anxiety, or just nervousness, right? Or symptom flare-ups even. So for those with autoimmune disease, symptom flare-ups, but just nervousness, right? It really helps. Anxiety, those sort of things. These breathing techniques are key to stop those racing thoughts, stop that not jitteriness, but that anxietal feeling that it's almost like a buzz, like you're buzzing around, that fight or flight mode, right? So to stop that, just to initiate that direction, change that cycle, is really key. But the reason the long breath afterwards signals the parasympathetic nervous system is because naturally, this is very important to understand why it works. Naturally at night, when you are supposed to be sleeping and when you are in rest and recovery mode, that's when the body's healing, right? When you're in that mode at nighttime, when you're sleeping, you breathe out more than you breathe in. In the daytime, you breathe in more than you breathe out. Okay. When you're sleeping, that's actually when you lose all your weight, is when you're sleeping, just so you know. Because when you do the chemical formula for losing weight, it's all in your breath. Breath work's important. But that's why exercise works for the most part, because you breathe more. But super important to understand that the reason why breath work works is because that is your natural state of recovery, right? So when you consciously implement that, you are able to signal your body to go into that recovery mode, right, and stop the fear mode, right, the worry mode, the anxiety mode. Those modes are important for different reasons. Um, they're important, but they're important when they're controlled, right? So that's why I have certain things that I have not worked on and gotten rid of, because I know how to control them. I don't know, I know how to control them, but they're useful, right? So it's important, but it's important to know this breath work and stuff. But any questions for today? That was a lot. I'm just like blah 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 out here. Any questions? If you don't have any questions, that's fine. No messages. No messages. Nobody's using the chat today. Checking my phone. I got everybody in the raffle. If anybody comes up with a question that they want to know anything about, just let me know. So I'm trying to decide what to give away in the raffle, and I think I decided what I'm going to give away, and it's going to be a year subscription to the Bible Diet app. So I'm working on the Bible Diet app, and it's really cool. Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, this is the other app. I can probably pull it up on my phone and show you guys a little bit of it. Okay. No, I don't want to do that again. Back to workspace. Bible Diet. My internet's kind of slow right now. I don't know what's going on. I hope this all came out well, even with the internet going crazy. So it's really cool. It's the organization of it is very similar to the autoimmune disease app, but it's got a food database in it, so it's got all the different foods you can eat and everything. But inside of that, it has a meal prep, right? So it's all biblically based, and what we do is we take foods that align with what was in the Mediterranean, Middle Eastern area, Egyptian area, and everything like that. Foods that they ate out there, and we align it with foods over here as well, right? So if they're similar in action or in constituency, we align it with foods over here. So foods that you don't hear about over there are still, are over here, but they align very well with the Bible diet. So we have those in here as well. So it's not just stuff you have to get that's exotic or anything like that. It's all the foods in here. Most of them, can be found here as well. So, but things like pomegranate, everything. Although some of them grow here in Alabama, you're not going to find an avocado growing in Alabama unless it's in a greenhouse, right? So those sort of things. But it has a really awesome list of all the different foods. You can add it to a shopping cart, just like You can do it in the autoimmune disease app. You got a meal prep though. The meal prep is really cool because it gives you ideas of what you can do for meals. And there's, I think, 25 in here right now, 25 of them. And I'll probably continue to add more. Some of them take 45 minutes. Some of them take 3.5 hours to make. Some of them take 5 minutes, right? Some of them take 30 minutes. So it's all just depending on what kind of time you have. So to make something, and some of it's prepping. Um, let's see, bone broth vegetable soup, super easy. Throw it in a crock pot, cook it for a little bit, and you're good to go. Garlic roasted lamb and root vegetables. Uh, just different. There's a bunch of different things in here. And lamb can be substituted with beef or chicken, right? So you don't have to go lamb, but it is very biblical, right? So, but let's see, herb crusted baked chicken thighs, spinach and lentils. Let's see, raw carrot ginger immunity soup. I'm just kind of scrolling through some of them. Stuffed bell peppers with turkey. So it's really cool. So I was possibly going to give a subscription away to this. It's $9 a month, but give a year's worth of subscription away for this. It's got a bunch of different set of herbs. Astragalus, one of the ones we talked about today. It goes through everything that it helps and does, and how to actually prepare it, which is really cool. Let's see, chaga mushroom, one of my favorites. Reishi mushroom, schizandra berry, also one of my favorites. Let's see, it's got all these awesome herbs in it. Supplements, right? So it has supplements, but it also has warnings in there, right? So only don't take this if you are dealing with this, which is really great. So Quercetin, has warnings in there. High doses cause kidney stress. So if you have any issues with kidneys, just don't take therapeutic doses of it. Stuff like that. It's really, really cool. And it's got breath work in here. So it's basically like an instruction manual on how to live the best life, right? So how to have the best quality of life per the Bible, right? So it's got training in here for strength training, right? So beginner, intermediate, and advanced. You got push-ups, squat, and full body exercises, right? So if you follow all these and do these things, you'll be able to do one-arm push-ups within a year. I know that sounds out of reach for a lot of people, even people that are older. If you follow all this stuff, you get back to health. Now, obviously, if you have some injuries that prohibit that, that's one thing. But your strength will significantly increase by following some of these things. It has morning rituals, so it's got like a daily plan. You can go through and kind of keep you on track, help you stay on track and stuff. But the morning rituals got all the things to do in the morning to get you up and going and moving, your meal nutrition for the day, your movement, and your evening wind down. That way you have a nice transition into sleeping, right? And getting really good sleep. Some of these things we don't even think about. We just sit there on our phone until we get tired, or read a book until we get tired and put it away. But there's all sorts of things you can do to calm your nervous system down, to get and go into the best sleep you've ever had, right? And part of that is reading and praying, or journaling, right? So But you can do a daily checklist as well to keep track of this stuff. And then you have your shopping list and everything. You have a profile, so a health profile, so you can actually select different conditions that you might have. So some of them are autoimmune disease, histamine intolerance, cancer, general recovery mode. So like if you're just wanting to, you know, um, if you have dealt with things in the past, but you're in general recovery, you want to just really stay healing and stay maintaining. This app has that in there as well. You can select that, and it will cater it to you, right? So, and you have health goals that you can choose as well. So, like increase energy, and it'll cater everything to that, right? Or reduce inflammation, and it'll cater everything to that. It's pretty cool. Not quite done with it. There's a few things I want to add and move around and stuff, but it's pretty intuitive. It's pretty cool little app. Hopefully it will develop into something really, really good over time, but I think that's what we're going to do the drawing for. So y'all, I don't know if any of y'all want the app or want to get on that, but it's pretty cool.
So you was talking about herbs, taking herbs would enhance whatever the drug is addressing.
Yeah.
And the reason I know for that is that they actually model the chemicals based on certain herbs.
Yeah, so 85% of the drugs out there are basically synthetic recreations of active compounds in herbs, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then they tell you, and then they go around and tell you that herbs don't work. And so
Right.
it's crazy to me. Everything that you do is modeled off of herbs, and you say that they don't work. But in my experience, herbs have worked faster, better, and more efficiently every single time over prescription drugs. Every single time.
Right.
The only difference is that prescription drugs have quality. Herbs, you have to fight for quality, right? So they're not standardized by very large pharmaceutical companies. So you have to make sure that you're getting the right stuff. Otherwise, you'll be duped into thinking that it doesn't work. So you just have to understand that and figure out how to get the best quality for you. Now, if you're eating right and everything, the herbs will work better. If your gut's right, the herbs will work better. If your gut's right, prescriptions will work better. So all of those things will work better, but prescriptions will lead damage as they go along. And so you have to mitigate that. But
yeah, and to me, the synergy of a natural product with the other compounds in them is a lot better for your body than a single isolated compound that's chemically reproduced.
there's a lot of side effects from single isolated compounds that and it's not just that it's single and isolated, right? That's really not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that it's synthetic. So they'll create a flipped form I forget exactly what the term is, like it's an isotopal flip or something. They flip they mirror the chemical, right? So it's way more active, first of all, and then they synthesize it, right? So it's made from petroleum, it's made from oil, right? The Rothschilds own the pharmaceutical companies. They're the ones that came up with the idea and educated people on it, right? So so it is a petroleum product. It comes from oil, and so what happens is the body recognizes it as a foreign substance, and when the body sees it as a foreign substance, it attacks it, right? And it causes damage. But because chemistry still works, it works to do whatever it's going to do, which is overstimulate, understimulate, hurt the body in whatever way it's going to do that, right? But it's not as effective as if your gut was good and it absorbed faster or better, right? Most people don't have good guts, but the prescriptions still make it to their blood. Some of it has to be injected, right? But yeah, so like a lot of GLP-1 drugs and stuff have to be injected, which is crazy to me. But whatchamacallit, yeah, the cofactors within herbs. A lot of the cofactors with vitamin C make it more efficient, but also will reduce side effects of just a pure or a synthetic ascorbic acid, right? So all the cofactors will make it 10 times more efficient. So your body's not fighting it. So a lot of things are overstimulating. That's why, coffee is overstimulating for a lot of people. But when you mix different things in there, it's not, right? It by itself, and I'm just using this as an example, it by itself is bad herbalism. When you use coffee in a different way as a carrier for other herbs that taste bad, it can be extremely beneficial. And a lot of the side effects of the metabolites of coffee and stuff will be mitigated. So that's why I like to put different herbs and stuff in my coffee. And like reishi mushroom is one of those that mitigates a lot of the negative side effects of coffee. So I know I'm pulling at some heartstrings over here about the coffee, but it's but you can mitigate a lot of the negative side effects of coffee through different herbs. And actually, coffee can be used so incredibly as a carrier for herbs, right? But just like chocolate, right? Now, chocolate, raw cacao in and of itself is really healthy, but it is stimulating. Now, if you use it with herbs, I make chocolate. I haven't made it in a long time, but I make chocolate with like 10 different herbs in it. And you don't really taste the herbs because the chocolate overpowers it, but it can be used as an awesome carrier for those herbs, right? So, but yeah, those cofactors and those blends and those synergies are really important. That's why we go through about 3 herbs that are consistently taken together every herb talk now, every autoimmune series, because when you take them synergistically, they work better, right? But then just the whole herb itself works better. I've even come back a little bit on the idea of standardized extracts of herbs. Yes, they work very well, but I want to make sure that they have all the cofactors, even if there is a standard extract. So a lot of times I'll get a standard extract and the whole herb just powdered, or however I'm using it, right? Just to make sure. That's with really high standard extracts. Milk thistle, that's usually like a 15% silymarin, but like something like turmeric, it's like a 95% curcuminoid extract in there. But a lot of turmeric supplements have just regular turmeric powder in it. So they do that on purpose, I think. So that's super important. Anything else before we get off of here today? All right. Well, we're going to cut it.
Thank you.
All right. Love y'all.
Love you. Love you, Jennifer.
Later.
Love you, sweetheart.
I think we're going to come over today. So.
Oh, okay.
Later today. I got to go to work for a little bit, but then I think we're coming.